love Final Cut Pro so much.
What's up guys, it's DJ.Do.Daddy and welcome to today's video, which is how to transition from iMovie or another editing software to Final Cut Pro. I'm specifically comparing it to iMovie because that is the transition that I made a few months ago. So this is just a beginner's tutorial, but if you want a more complicated / advanced version, let me know in the comments. However, I still do not know everything about Final Cut Pro. I probably never will. But anyways, let's get into it. Pro will automatically open this window, but I prefer to just do it this way, which is open up the hard drive itself and then pick out the files that you want and simply drag them into Final Cut Pro. Then you'll have to wait for them to process and make sure that you keep Final Cut Pro open while the media imports. Then you'll have to go to File, New, Event to create yourself an event. You can name it whatever you want and it'll pop up right here. Then File, New, Project to create a new project within the event, and there's lots of different settings. This right here is good for basically any YouTube video, but if you want a vertical video, you have to go to Custom and then flip-flop these numbers around. You can also play around with the frame rate if you want, but I find that mostly everything can stay the same. To make this title, click the third button in the top left of the screen, and then you'll see all these titles and generators in drop-down menus. I'm just going to simply drag in a custom one because I like that you can choose any color with the color picker, or you can use the color wheel and browse around there. Once you've chosen your color, we're going to add a basic title, and the shortcut is Edit, Connect Title, Basic Title. Then you can write in whatever text you want and change the font to make it nice and pretty. I also changed the size of mine so that it was a little bigger and added an outline. For this next one, I chose a color and background that I liked, then I dragged in the typewriter title, typed in my text, and changed the font and size to be my preference. Then you can go over into this title button, and because it's a moving title, it'll have lots of different options to customize how fast it moves and that kind of stuff. So I changed the color of my background again, but then we're going to drag in our basic 3D title, which is kind of the most complicated title you can do. I type in my text, change the font and everything just like normal. Then I go over to that text button I was talking about, and look how many options there are to animate this baby. These last two frames show you what I chose to do to animate my title so that it looks like this. Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good, yeah.
Click on the second button in the top left and then type in telephone into the sound effects. Then you'll go into the actual effects browser, down to audio, and type in telephone again so that that can be like the person on the other side of the phone. Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good, yeah.
Hey, what's that?
Guess it was nothing.
We're going to be using the effects browser again, and my favorite section is distortion, and in there is the helium effect, so you can change the center so that it looks like it's over my head. And then we're going to go back into the effects with the audio this time, and there is a helium audio that I dragged in there at the end too. Hey, what's that?
Guess it was nothing.
Right next to the effects browser are the transitions, and you can drag in any transition between any two clips and then adjust the duration of that transition. There's also options to change the transitions. It's basically customizable. Shift B will split a clip into two different speeds, so you can kind of make it slower or faster in the middle, do anything that you want. In this case, I'm making the middle part slow where I catch the ball, and just going along and doing that with every clip. For this one, I made some clips fast and some reverse, so you can go up to that time little button and do that through there, and just mix it around and make it fun. Alright, gotta go to school. By clicking this down arrow, you'll be given 3 options, and the second one is crop. Then if you go over to the bottom, you can select crop or Ken Burns. In this case, I'm cropping it in smaller intervals first, then I'm going over to the Ken Burns button, and you can adjust the start and end sections so that it looks the way that you want it to. Way back in the hidden forest of Frankfurt lie an old, deadly frog. The year is 1768, and the sun bled through the trees onto the frog's favorite pond. First, I'm dragging in all the clips that I want to be over the story. Then I'm going to the transform feature and just dragging it around to the location and scale that I want. You'll see in the side it's moving around, so you can also adjust it over there if you want, and then do that with each clip.
Hi.
Hey, what are you doing, Mr. Frog?
Oh, I'm just heading down to my favorite pond.
Can I come?
Sure, we can go together.
Time to jump in.
To record a voiceover, go to Window, Record Voiceover. Then once you click the record button, it will start by giving you a countdown. So then once the countdown's over, you can literally say whatever you want and it will be recorded. Press the stop button, and then you can do that as many times as you want.
I'm just heading down to my favorite pond.
Can I come?
Sure, we can go together.
These first 2 GIFs are already PNGs, so they have a transparent background and we don't need to do anything with them. But if yours doesn't have a transparent background, you'll go into the effects browser and select here onto the clip. For this one, we had to adjust the background by going to sample color and then making a rectangle around that background. And then for the second one, once we selected the keyer, it just happened to cancel out perfectly. So you just might have to adjust some things sometimes. Unlike an iMovie, Final Cut Pro allows you to add as many layers as you want into the timeline, so to show this, I decreased the scale by 10% more each layer I added. And then I just kind of went funky with it, did some cropping and more scaling, you know, transforming that into however I want it. And it kind of came out cool. I've never done something like this.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, let's get it.
With these pills, I felt better than I ever have before. Call 287 Totally Not a Scam for more information. The distort feature is the third thing underneath that arrow there, and it's mainly used for like 3D stuff, but today we're using it just to make this look a little bit more realistic, so we're dragging each corner to where it matches with the TV. And once I've finished with this part, to copy that onto the next clip, you can hit Shift-Command-V, and then you can just select paste, and it'll do it the exact same on that next part. Basically, a keyframe is just any point at where you want there to be a specific value. So it could be at a point where you want the opacity to be 50%, or at a point where you wanted the scale to be 50%. Whatever you want, it's just a way of commanding your video to do a certain thing at a certain time. But it can be used for not just titles like I'm showing you today. It can be used, for example, the helium part that I did. that was keyframed. So it's a really cool way of animating, and you'll definitely, like, once you get used to it, you'll learn to love it. For this one, we're going to be animating and adding keyframes to the opacity. So you'll see next to everything in the inspector window is this little diamond. That's a keyframe. So you can drag your cursor over to where you want the opacity to be 100%, make a keyframe, and then where you want it to be 0% and make another keyframe there. And if you click Command V, you'll be able to see where you put all of these different keyframes. And that ultimately gives the fade in, fade out effect. Next, we're going to be animating and adding keyframes to the position. So you'll start a keyframe where you want it to be in the middle, and then you'll go to transform, and you can kind of just drag the clip, and it'll automatically change the keyframe if you're in a different place with your cursor. So then you can do that with the end part too, and you get this. For this one, we're going to be animating the scale, so I put a keyframe where I want it to be at 100%, then at the very beginning of the clip, you want it to be at 0%, and somewhere in between those two, I try to make it 125% just so it gives a nice pop. All the mask options can be found in the effects browser, and I'm using the draw mask because that way I can make it whatever shape I want. Then you kind of have to draw into the video area for some reason, but then you can create all of your control points just around the text or whatever you're trying to mask. Make sure to match up with your first control point at the end. But then once you've done that, you'll have to go from the select option, which it's normally at, to position, just so that whatever you're trying to mask doesn't interfere. Then you can start adding keyframes to your mask. So I like to zoom in for this so that I can find out where I exactly start to overlap with the title or whatever you're trying to mask, and then you can move each individual control point around as necessary to give it that effect that you really want. It's going to take a lot of time, but go through every 3 or so frames and change all of the control points that you need to. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I hope that you enjoyed it and learned something, because learning can be fun. If you have any questions about the video, let me know in the comments. Hopefully I can answer, or if I don't know the answer, someone else can jump in. We can have a nice discussion down there. So I'll see you guys next week with another video. Bye! Oh, I suck at catching balls. I didn't mean that in a weird way. A 1, 2, a 1. Bro, I'm biking by. Hold please. What the heck?